General Sargus Rook, the Grineer boss that you find on Saturn. Kind of a pain in the butt, but once you know the strategy on how to kill him, he can be fairly easy to deal with. So let's figure that out, shall we? I'm going to break this video up into 3 main components. Chapter 1 will be some basic information, including location and type of damage that Rook does. Chapter 2 will be actually killing him. Chapter 3 will be some final bits and pieces of information, including what I used for my various runs that you will see in the background, as well as some statistics on what he drops. So, let's get into it. General Sargus Rook is located on Saturn, specifically the mission called Tethys, Tethys, I think it's pronounced Tethys. Sargus Rook is, he's a Grineer boss, so you're going to be fighting Grineer, prepare for that. And he tends to he deals a great deal of heat damage and blast damage. So if you want to equip yourself to be resistant to those, that'll be your best bet. Sargus Rook has 4 main attacks that he uses. He's got a flamethrower ability in which he spews heat damage from his arm cannon. He's got a blast grenade ability, which is essentially he just throws a grenade at you, and that's where his blast damage comes in. He's got a fire blast ability that is kind of like Ember's attack that she has, where he slams onto the ground and creates a ring of fire that can knock down the Tenno. You need to be like, when he winds up to do this attack, you'll need to be pretty far away, because if you're even airborne around him, he will knock you back. His Fire Blast ability is only used once you've got him down to 66% health. Sargus Rook, essentially he's got 1 health bar, but functionally he operates as if he's got 3 like thirds, like his health bar is in thirds. So you knock down the first third at 66%, he starts using Fire Blast. Knock down to his last third, or 33% left, he brings out his last attack called Eruption, where he'll slam on the ground and create pillars of fire that will linger for a while and deal very high heat damage. These pillars do not track you though, so all you have to do is just don't stand in the middle of them, and you should be fine. Sargus Rook is kind of like the Aura Worm, in which you will not be fighting him with melee weapons. You probably could use some weapons, like maybe the Orvius or something that's like a throwable melee. And maybe I thought about it, I didn't try it to test it, but maybe something like the Electra, the whip, might work. But to be perfectly honest with you, it's just so much easier to use your actual primary or secondary. You're probably not going to end up using a lot of abilities with him, depending on what Warframe you use. I found myself only really using Warframes that like boost my abilities, so Wisp's ability to increase health and fire rate, that sort of thing. And the reason why is because Sargus Rook, you can't hurt him directly. Again, like the Aura Worm and like some other bosses in the game, he is 100% immune to all types of damage, excluding any damage dealt to his weak points, of which he has 3. If you don't deal damage to his weak point, you're just not going to do damage. It's so, like, not even registering, it doesn't even show you as doing zeros, like some things. You just won't do damage outright. So if you try to brute force him, it won't work. You have to aim for the 3 weak points. Actually hitting the weak points, really honestly, anything that shoots really quickly with a great fire rate or has a lot of very quick damage will work. I used 4 individual weapons in my run, which I will show on screen and I will go through in the final part. All of them were very different because I wanted to try different strategies, and honestly, as long as you pay attention to keeping yourself alive and occasionally ignoring Sargus and going off to weed out the herd, if it as it were. In other words, take out all of his little guards that will follow. You should be fine. You can get overwhelmed if you don't take out some of the Grineer that will spawn in. I learned that the hard way doing a couple of tests. If you try to ignore the Grineer and go straight for Sargus, you can get overwhelmed. Depending on your level, it may not be an issue for you, especially if you're running a room nuke build. But if you're on the lower level, if you're struggling with survivability, Sargus Rook is not very fast. His attacks are fairly easy to dodge and easy to see coming, so you can prioritize thinning out the herd, then coming back and dealing damage to Rook. It's pretty simple as that. Now, your 3 main weak points will show up in individual points. The first one will be his large shoulder tank for his flamethrower. All you have to do is just wait for him to open it up. He will continue to attack you until his each weak point overheats. Then he'll open it to cool it off. While it's cooling off, it will glow bright blue. Aim for the blue until it explodes. There are 3 in total. His shoulder for his flamethrower. Then he should, and actually let me double check on this. I believe he opens his chest next. Yes, he will open up his chest as the second weak point. Finally, once you've destroyed the second weak point, which is just, shoot it until it blows up, he will then have his third weak point on his back. Now, arguably, Sargus Rook is the most dangerous after that first weak point has been destroyed. The reason why I say that, and I mentioned it a while earlier in the recording, is that his Fire Blast ability is very dangerous. Not that it's going to outright kill you, but that it will knock you across the map and you will be fully stun locked on the ground. I've had multiple occasions where that happens, and then I get absolutely blasted by all the enemies because they all aim for the one location where I'm at, or it takes me a while to recover, and by the time I recover, he's already closed his weak point. So you want to keep that in mind when he winds up to do his attack and pounds onto the ground. It will knock you back if you are not a good distance away from him. Being airborne does not save you. Just because you're airborne doesn't mean you will be safe. I will show a moment when I was playing as Wisp where I still got knocked off even though I was above him. Finally, he is, of course, far more dangerous in his final phase. Those fire pillar attacks are lethal. Do not stand in them. If you have decent health or shields or even decent heat resistance, you can tank them fairly decently. I'm not going to say they're going to kill you immediately or just right off the bat. But if you are forgetting, like you're prioritizing other things, you got tunnel vision going on, and you stand in one for too long, it will wreck your shit. It will happen. They are surprisingly powerful once they break your shields or once your shields are broken, which is why I say you need to prioritize just keeping... It's Warframe. Keep moving. Don't stand still. Just keep moving. You may have to hold still a little bit here and there to get a good aim on his weak points. He tends to move. He tends to change his shape. It can make it difficult to actually hit the weak points if you're like moving around a whole lot. So you got to kind of balance it with Sargus Rook. But basically, once you've just hit at each of the weak points, all 3 have blown up, you've done it. You have killed Sargus Rook. In reality, he is actually one of my favorite bosses because he is easy to beat once you get the strategy down, but he is not by any means just a pushover. I feel with bosses like Vor and even the Oral Worm, they're kind of pushovers. You're not at really that great of a threat, except for in the case of Vor, when you're really early on and you might not know what you're doing, you can get wrecked by him. But Sargus Rook is one of those interesting bosses where even as you're a higher level, if you're not paying attention or you're just not keeping your mind on the task, he could still come out of nowhere, and a combination of his attacks and all of the Grineer he will spawn in the room or will spawn in the room will wreck you. I'm not embarrassed to admit I'm a decent level Warframe player. I've got a really high level Wisp. I've got a really specced out Ember. I got crushed on one of these. I wasn't recording at the time, unfortunately, but I did get crushed. Why? Because I just kind of forgot. I wasn't really paying attention, and I was talking to someone else on Discord at the time, and I got blasted by a whole lot of shit happening all at once, and it caught me off guard. It happens. And I love that fact of like, if you lapse, if you're not paying attention, he will come out of nowhere and he will get you. So, you know, even though he's one of kind of the basic bosses that you will fight, he is definitely an interesting fight. One of my favorites. And I hope you enjoy the fight kind of as much as I do, to be honest. Alright, so this is going to be kind of a short video, as you can tell. For the main reason is, like the Aura Worm video, I'm going to try and keep these how to kill Warframe boss videos pretty kind of short and sweet and to the point. These aren't lore videos. I'm not going into the lore. I'm not going into all the minutiae and detail. I am here to just show you how to kill the boss. So here at the end, I want to give a little bit more bit of information, just so you guys are, if you guys are curious. I did 4 runs against Sargus Rook for the B-roll for the video behind. Run number 1, I used Ember with the Fulmin Prime. Run number 2, I used Wisp with the Mutalist Chernos. Run number 3, I also used Wisp, but this time I used the Ignis Flamethrower. And the final run was with Hydroid, and I used the Dara. Now, in terms of mods, I had them kind of all over the place, but generally I spec'd for fire rate and damage. I didn't really use my secondary, and like I said, I didn't use my melee really. I think I tried, but then wasn't able to do any damage, so I didn't. The melee doesn't matter. I had a dual Vipers, I think, or dual Askamati. I don't exactly remember what they were that I had. Barely used them. I did do one test during one of the Wisp runs where I shot Sargus Rook with my my moat from my operator, which works as well if you wanted to do that. You can do a lot of damage with that. You just gotta, you know, remember that you're the operator, so you're not as tanky as when you're actually using the Warframe. I do want to make another note. On the second run, using Wisp and the Mutalist Chernos, I had a bit of a glitch happen. I will show on screen. Sargus got stuck on this like section, this like platform that he's not supposed to be able to get to, and it made the fight super easy, and all I had to do was kind of get around the geometry of the map to hurt him. Really, I don't know how this happened. I'm not sure if I pushed him down there or I'm not sure. I'm being able to knock him down onto this platform is not something that you should be trying to make a reliable strategy. I've fought Sargus probably 30 to 40 times at this point, and that was literally the first time that has ever happened. And I don't know exactly how it happened. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of let you guys know that was something that happened. I'll show on the screen. And that's it. Thank you all for watching. I've been Cadian Keon. Make sure to like, subscribe, put down in the comments what boss you'd like to see me kill next time, and I'll see you all again in the next one. Bye-bye!